Brother, sometimes I lose hope about Africa, but sometimes I regain hope. It feels good sometimes. Which one is it going to be this time around? Let's go across Africa very quickly and see what's happening. Now, a Russian cargo plane has landed in South Africa. This is a banned plane from the United States of America under embargo, meaning South Africa just breached the US embargo. What's going to happen? We better find out about that. Next thing, South African activists arrested by Israel have been released from detention. Yes, Nelson Mandela's grandson has been released. Now, why is this? Is this pressure? We better find out about this. Then number 3, we're going to go to Benin and Cameroon. You want to talk about disappointment? Well, Benin and Cameroon have welcomed the United States of America. They've reinforced security ties with the US. So Americans are going to come sit in Benin and Cameroon and install themselves. Is this what you want to see? We're going to find out about this. What's happening, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much. Let me fix myself. It's always a great pleasure. Hey, my name is Zack. You're welcome. Your first time, welcome. This is home. We talk about the motherland here. All countries, Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, South Africa, Nigeria. We speak about it. Thank you. Please click on the button and subscribe so we can see each other every single day. Yeah, we have a lot of fun here. We have a lot of fun. You're welcome. We like you. Where you from? America? We love you. From the Caribbean? Jamaica? Wagwan me boss. We love you here. Let's go. A US-Russian cargo plane has landed in Appington in South Africa. This is Appington on the map, and this has sparked concern, diplomatic concern, between the United States of America and South Africa. I mean, for those of you who know, right now, America and South Africa, things are not working properly right now. It's a very, very complicated relationship, especially because South Africa has a good relation with Russia and China. But beyond that, many people believe it's because of a country you don't name, because they have a good relationship with them, and South Africa took them to court. Therefore, Donald Trump, being a fervent friend of the country you don't name, is doing everything to make things difficult for South Africa. Now, they put pressure on South Africa, asking them, why have you accepted the Russian sanction plan? So basically, this is how the world works. If the US sanctions a country and you deal with that country, you're going to have to pay the price. Yeah, you're going to be punished for being friend to a country that is unfriendly to the US, or US is unfriendly to that country. So basically, it's a bit like when we went to school many, many years ago, and there was this big guy in class, that big bully. That big guy, I didn't say America's bully, I said that big bully from class who said, you don't speak to John. Whoever speaks to John is going to have problems with me. And everybody will ostracize John. Literally, nobody will speak to John, because if you speak to John, the big boy in class, who's usually 4 or 5 years older than everybody, will beat you up. Now, South Africa's reacted. The Transport Department defended the landing, stating there's no legal ground. So no legal ground exists to deny the permits under current aviation laws. So the South African Transport Department said there's no legal ground denying a Russian airplane to land. Was the airplane on trouble? We don't know. Did they need to refuel? We don't know. That South Africa has the right to accept any planes they want. Well, it looks like they should have that right. Now, are they not afraid of the United States of America? I believe whether you're afraid or not, at some point you need to stand the ground and make yourself respected, because respect is everything. And now we're going to Israel. Well, sometimes you name, sometimes you don't name. Well, activists have been released in Israel. Exactly. 6 South African activists, including Nelson Mandela's son. This man right here, his name is Mandela. They were detained by Israeli force while attempting to deliver aid to Gaza. So there was about 40 to 41 boats that put in, food, tablets, medicine, and many other things, blankets, trying to go all the way to Gaza and help people of Gaza on a humanitarian trip. Why? Because of the blockade. There is a blockade around Gaza where nobody can actually take humanitarian aid. So these people, these 41 boats from different countries say, you know what? Screw that. We are going to help these people. Now, in the past, some very dramatic situations have happened of people who have tried to go help people in Gaza. Now, this time around, it was a bit difficult. And like I said earlier, we spoke about this a couple of days ago. Nelson Mandela's grandson was there. Nelson Mandela is a prominent figure. And there isn't much you could do to that person. I'm sorry, it's just unfair, but that's the way it is. compared to a normal human being, a John Doe that nobody knows. It's very easy to take a John Doe in captivity and unalive him. Nobody's going to speak out. You take Nelson Mandela's grandson and keep him in captivity? Whoa. That's something big. I mean, Mandela has had a very good relationship with Gaza, Yasser Arafat, because I just murdered his name. Back in time, South Africa went through the most. They experienced apartheid, so they can relate to people from Gaza. They were very friendly. Mandela also is known for saying that South Africa can never perceive itself as free if Gaza is not. So let's guess that Mandela's grandson is perhaps continuing the work that his grandfather started. So the question is, why has Israel released these people? Because they don't necessarily listen to anybody. You know that, eh? They don't. Yes, there's been a lot of diplomatic pressure from South Africa. I mean, South Africa has asked Israel to release these people. And we know that they don't necessarily want to go head on head with South Africa, not because they're necessarily afraid, but there are many interests of Israel in South Africa. Number two, the activists are high profile. I mean, like I said earlier, this is Nelson Mandela's grandson. You can't just, there are many accusations on Israel right now for them to just take out Nelson Mandela's grandson. So sometimes you need a name, my brother. Sometimes you need a name, belong to a name at least. And now we're going to Benin and Cameroon. Look at the map. This is Benin and Cameroon. Well, in Benin, U.S. military reinforced the security ties. And Cameroon, General Degvin Anderson, head of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, visited Benin and Cameroon to strengthen counter-terrorism and maritime security ties. Okay, many African countries are right now pushing away Western forces, asking them to leave. Please go back to your country. We've grown enough to look after ourselves. Cameroon and Benin have just signed a contract, a deal with the US, to reinforce their partnership. This means Americans will be stationed in Benin and Cameroon. Okay, let me just remind you, you see this country here, Niger, they asked Americans to leave because, why are you here? Please go back to your country. Now, America needs to be stationed somewhere in Africa. They need to be here. They need to stand against Russians and Chinese influence. So it's all about power. Benin has also been accused many times by Niger of harboring and keeping enemies of Niger. Niger kicked out French soldiers, asking them to leave the country. They say, oh, you're not going to be here anymore. Sorry, you've colonized us for a long time. You've taken away our economy. We're not going to authorize this. They ask French soldiers and diplomacy to leave the country. They left. Then they asked Americans to leave the country because America also was based in Niger. The Americans were not very happy about that. I mean, listen to the senator talk about Niger.
The government in Niger is using the well-being and health of our service members as leverage to get what they want out of our government. Our troops aren't getting medicine for malaria, for cholesterol, for their blood pressure, chronic conditions. And I've received the letters from the wives, from the fathers of the people who are in Niger now, and they say, we know that our family members are being extorted by the local governments when they try to leave, hundreds of dollars to even bring a bag through the airport. We know that Russians are behind the wire. You know what a real U.S. president would do? Say that C-130s are on their way to Niger today with the water and the medicine and the food our troops need, that they will have a full fighter pilot escort there. And if the Nigerian government or any other third world thug tries to even turn on their air defense systems, we should show those leaders and those thugs what the target package looks like on their houses and their family members, because it should not be Americans that are suffering because President Biden and Blinken are so embarrassed that their strategy in Africa failed that they're willing to let Americans' conditions deteriorate.
Listen to this man talk. I mean, he's talking about a free country, an independent country. He says, if I were a president, or if we had a strong American president, we'd go to this country and bomb them because they chased us out. Well, look at Niger, look at Benin. They've just moved off Niger. Now they're going into Benin for the very same purpose. Is this a good news? I don't know. Niger and Benin are not getting along. They don't get along. Right now, they're not seeing eye to eye. And it's been a while. Niger actually closed its border to Benin because Benin was trying to pressure Niger. Let me just remind you here that Niger's government right now was not democratically elected. They came by force. Now, the people of Benin, the leadership, they don't like that. So they block them the road. As you can see, Niger don't have a sea. They're not next to the sea. The sea is very important. A country needs to have a port to the sea. Why? Because it's very necessary for import and export. Like I said before, if a country needs to export goods coming from another country, let me give you a stupid example. From India, you want to bring in steel or any other, or maize, you can do it two ways. Either you bring it via aeroplane, which is going to be very costly and very limited in terms of weight and size, or you can bring it by ship, boat, or anything that's floating on the sea. That's very broad. You can bring a lot of containers, heavy stuff. Now, if you don't have the border to the sea, usually it's very difficult. You need to have good neighborhood behavior with your neighbor. You need to have a good relationship. Now, Benin and Niger don't get along. Now, Niger doesn't have access to the sea because Benin is not very happy. Also, in the past, we know that Niger has accused Benin of hosting French soldiers looking to attack Niger because French were not happy. Obviously, when you ask them to leave, they want to come back. Now, your neighbor, your supposedly brother, is hosting people that are your enemies. That's why I said to you, brotherhood has nothing to do with the skin of the color. Skin color doesn't make you brothers, I'm sorry. Not even the country. Brotherhood is constantly proven. These are two African countries that are fighting for two different purposes. And one is ready to host an enemy of the other, provided it gets lacked by whoever is hosting. Now, what are the goals? The goals between Benin and US is counterterrorism. They want to protect against terrorists, they say. It's crazy because Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso accuse the very same people from the West of creating this terrorism so they can justify their presence in Africa. Now, it's crazy to hear that Benin and USA are fighting terrorists in this very same area. US is offering training, surveillance, logistical support to help Benin contain the spillover of violence coming from the Sahel region. Again, the same problem. Where did the terrorists come from? They came from Libya. What happened in Libya? Well, America and France went to bomb Libya. That's when it started. Now everybody's in problem because some people didn't like some presidents who didn't run his country democratically whilst people were happy. Again, Benin is doing this for diplomatic leverage. They're looking to be seen positively by the United States of America. That's what all African countries do, unfortunately, except a few countries. They all want to leak, but it's crazy. America's going to like us. Just a couple of days ago, Ghana opened its door to American refugees. Not the refugees, but people that America is throwing out the country. People from South America and also, Ghana is accepted. Why? Because Ghanaians are scared not to get visa to it. A Russian cargo landed in South Africa, even though it's under US embargo. Is this a challenge from South Africa to the US, or just a show of we are not afraid of you, we can do whatever we want in our country? Israel has released activists that they arrested whilst they were going to help people in Gaza. Amongst them was Nelson Mandela's grandson, who's shown bravery for many people. Benin and Cameroon have signed a deal with the USA, bringing them back in Africa, in an area where they were kicked out just a couple of months ago. Is this a good deal or not? Let me know how you feel about this. It was a great pleasure. Fellas, we want you to comment. Make comments. Please comment. Thank you. God bless.